Welcome back to the architecture of becoming and to the Terrace of Abundance. There are moments when abundance seems to ask us to choose, to trust what we cannot see, or to work with what we can, to listen inwardly or to build outwardly, to trust the unfolding or to make the plan. But perhaps the choice was never meant to be made. Perhaps these are not opposing paths. Perhaps they are two movements of the same becoming. And perhaps the invitation is not to choose between them, but to bring them together. One part of us knows how to listen. We trust intuition, we notice the quiet invitation, we recognize those moments when something within us simply knows. We understand that not everything meaningful can be measured, scheduled, or explained. Sometimes an idea arrives before we understand where it will lead. And sometimes a possibility appears before we know how to create it. Sometimes the wisest thing we can do is to become still. Still enough to receive. But receptivity alone does not build the life we have imagined. Eventually, a vision asks to be given form. And another part of us knows how to build. We plan, we organize, we study what is required, we make decisions, we take the next practical step. We understand that dreams need structure, and that possibility asks something of us. But structure without inner direction can become effort without meaning. We can become so busy doing that we forget to listen. So busy building that we forget to ask what we are building toward. And here, the terrace offers another possibility. Not one or the other, both. Look again at the fountain. It does not struggle to become water. It simply flows. Grace, inspiration, possibility. The unseen becoming visible. And beside it waits the bowl. Not passive, not empty, prepared. One offers, the other makes room to receive. And neither is complete without the other. The bowl teaches us something different. Receiving requires capacity. Something must be willing to hold what arrives. A dream may begin as inspiration, but eventually it needs a calendar. A calling may arrive as intuition, but eventually it needs a decision. An opportunity may appear as grace, but eventually we must make room for it. Our inner knowing may show us the direction, but our choices create the path. The fountain gives, the bowl receives, and abundance lives in the relationship between them. Perhaps this is integration. The listening part of us and the building part of us. No longer standing on opposite sides of the question, we begin to walk together, we listen for direction, and we give that direction form. We recognize possibility, and we create the capacity for possibility to remain. We allow inspiration to guide action, and action to become an expression of what we value. and slowly something changes. Abundance is no longer something we are waiting to receive. It becomes something we are learning to participate in. So as we return to our own lives this week, perhaps we can notice where the fountain is already flowing. Where is inspiration appearing? Where is something quietly calling for our attention? Where is grace already offering itself? And then we can look for the bowl. What would allow us to receive what is trying to arrive? What structure might support it? What decision? What boundary? What practice? What conversation? What practical next step? We do not have to choose between faith and action, between spirit and structure, between receiving and building. We are invited to integrate them. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is create a place for grace to land. And sometimes the most practical thing we can do is trust the fountain enough to bring a bowl.